Paris Lilly, first of all, brother, congratulations on the continued success, not only with Danny Pena and, obviously Pete. You guys have been rocking it out for years with, with your show, and the Gamer Tag Radio continues to be it's just a place for gamers to go. But obviously your success personally on your YouTube channel, great to see you putting out more content. Great to see you doing the interviews that you're getting. But let's talk about this new information reaffirming Sony's move to third party, because you said it that you are going to set up monitors like a horror movie where it's going to be 6 monitors in front of you. They're all lit up. Well, it's going to be a silhouette, and you're just going to be laughing like a villain when Spider-Man or Uncharted or, God forbid, God of War gets announced for Xbox. Again, we all saw this. It was Hiroki Totoki has talked about this for months, right? The job placement or the job posting comes out suggesting that this new hire is going to have a team working under them. They're going to have a near $400,000 salary, and they're going to work towards getting and working with other partners, i.e. mobile, Nintendo Switch, and of course, Xbox. But that wasn't enough for people. Well, then we had the vice president come out and basically say that they're moving away from a console-centric way of business, and they're going to be more community-focused and engaging in software. How do you do that, Paris Lilly? Well, you do that by putting games where they're currently not. And Xbox and Nintendo Switch are right for it. Let's get your thoughts, man.
So first off, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we certainly can. Absolutely.
Okay, because I'm on hotel Wi-Fi.
Yes, I know.
Talking on my phone. Also, no pressure. You said I was bringing the comedy. I have no comedy today. Yeah, when I went on Dirt, that was, obviously I was just having fun. But let's try and break this down in various stages. So first off, look, as I just tweeted it earlier, what we're realizing is, and this is not just haha, PlayStation, Xbox. No, this is industry wide. What we're realizing is, it does not matter how great your game is. People are entrenched onto their devices of choice and the ecosystems that they've invested in. Again, we're looking at real numbers now. Forza Horizon 5, over a few month period, sold 3 million copies at full price, and hell, even beyond full price, because people pre-ordered the $100 edition on PlayStation. 3 million people. So what that tells me is that game has been around for 4 years. It has been universally praised that entire time. Hell, I'm pretty sure IGN had it as its game of the year of 2021. That's how good Forza Horizon 5 has been. And you had 3 million people say, I know it's good. I keep hearing it's good. I am not buying an Xbox. I am not building a PC. So unless you bring it to me, I am not playing it. Oh, wait, you just brought it to me. I'm going to go buy it at full price. That's where we are in the industry now.
Yep.
There are way too many games, quality games across multiple platforms that people are playing. We've already talked about the Fortnite phenomenon, because time is the biggest commodity that you have in gaming, right? So when you have a Roblox, a Fortnite, a Call of Duty Warzone, an Apex, a Destiny, whatever the case, live service games is what I'm trying to say, that take up so much of your time, you're going to be highly selective on the other games that you pick up. So if I keep hearing about this great game on another platform, but it's not on mine, I'm not going to spend more money on additional hardware to play 1 or 2 games. You got to bring it to me. Phil Spencer said it. Look, a little humble brag. But Phil Spencer said it when he was on with us 2 years ago.
He sure did.
He said, it does not matter if Starfield is an 11 out of 10. We lost the most important generation, which was the digital library generation. And we're starting to see that play out now. So what are you seeing happening? Xbox, obviously a year ago, No red lines. It's just 4 games. We're going to experiment. The experiment went swimmingly. Now it is expected to see Xbox games on other platforms. If anything, we're surprised when we say a game is not on another platform. South of Midnight, as an example, Anthem, as an example, and Keeper, which is about to come out for Double Fine, is not PlayStation day and date. It's only on Xbox and PC, right? So that's the kind of the world, that the aggressive nature that Xbox has been in with what they're doing. Now, PlayStation, they are not doing what Xbox is doing, and that is
Right.
perfectly okay. But what they are doing is they're now starting to look at other platforms. For what reason? Engagement,
There you go.
growth, MAUs, revenue, profit, whatever you want to call it. Because yes, they just sold 80 million PlayStation 5s, but the attach rate of their exclusive games on their hardware is, because I've even seen the comments now. Well, what about Nintendo? Nintendo is a freaking unicorn, and people, honestly, at
Thank you,
this point,
sir.
it's ridiculous to use that analogy, because a couple things with Nintendo: they are the best developer in the world. They have been for 40 years with their games. They have synergized their IPs. Their IPs have brand recognition. Everybody in the world knows Mario. Everybody in the world knows Metroid, Donkey Kong, Zelda, on down the line, right? You know these IPs. Their hardware is underpowered, and they make a profit on their hardware. They've always done that. Their development costs are a fraction. I shouldn't say a fraction, but they're definitely less than what you see for AAA budgets of these other games on
They're
Xbox and PlayStation
usually
and PC.
about a third of what you would get.
Yeah.
Like if you, yeah, when you look at the pricing, Paris, if someone spends, $100 million to make a game, like for instance, Helldivers 2 was just a pinch over 100 million from start to finish. Nintendo's budget probably around 30, 40 million, give or take, for some of
Yeah,
their
yeah, yeah,
games.
yeah, something like that. But to the point, all I'm saying is the whataboutism with Nintendo. There, and the example on the other side of this, Nintendo is essentially the Grand Theft Auto of gaming, whereas their IPs, yes, a Grand Theft Auto 6, a Mario, you're going to figure out a way to go play it, because you want to go play it, because again, the brand recognition, they appeal to gamers of all ages, all that stuff. Anyways, I don't want to get off the track of what I'm saying. The point is, PlayStation is now looking to obviously grow as well, because but their strategy is going to be different than Xbox. I do not expect at all to see a single player game be day and date on multi-platform. I just don't.
Yeah,
They're
I
going
agree.
to they're going to continue to say, all right, you want to play Spider-Man, Uncharted, Ghost of Yote, or whatever, day one, get a PlayStation. But after you've exhausted your quote unquote reach on your own device, right? When it's basically reached its shelf life, like, okay, here's the ceiling of the amount of people that are willing to buy this game on this
Yep.
device, you now introduce it to a new platform. Clearly, they're already doing that with PC. They're going to do it with Switch and Xbox as well. Eventually. I'm not saying this is happening this year or next year. I'm saying, again, that job description as an example. The position had already existed, and people were using that as, I don't know, some kind of thing. See, it was already around. If anything, that should tell you everything you need to know. If the fact that the position already existed and there was someone already working on that, that tells you internally they are
Mm.
looking outside of their current ecosystem. So
Yep.
if anything, that's not some aha gotcha. That's a no, they clearly have a plan, and it is being executed, in real time. It's just not as aggressive as what Xbox is doing. You will eventually see, yes, they use Nixus to port games over. Eventually, they're going to do what Xbox is doing, and you're going to see more and more of that happen in-house. Their current studios are not equipped to do ports, or it's going to take way too much time. So what do you have to do? You got to staff up on that. You got to get the right people with the right skill set to be able to do simultaneous development of games, so that, okay, it comes to PlayStation first, so, and I'm doing air quotes, you have your quality, as some people would say, and then 6 months, a year, 18 months later, it's going to go somewhere else. That, that's going to be their strategy, and that's fine. But the days of 100% lockdown exclusivity, those days are gone. And yes, a year, if you asked me this a year ago, I mean, I've obviously thought that the gaming business was changing, but yeah, I've definitely stuck my foot in my mouth because I thought it would have been crazy to put Halo or Gears or Forza on a PlayStation. And I said what I said, and I was wrong because they're doing it. And then once you realize that it happens, it doesn't matter. Because going back to what I said before, people are entrenched in their ecosystems and their preferences. So the person that bought a PlayStation 5 this generation, guess what they're going to do next generation? They're going to buy a PlayStation 6. And the person that bought an Xbox this generation, guess what they're going to do next generation? They're going to buy an Xbox. It doesn't matter if the games are available other places. People play where they want to play. They play where their friends are, where they're comfortable, the service, all that stuff matters. And clearly that's what Xbox is betting on. Why do you think I asked Phil Spencer earlier this year? Okay, you're doing all this, then why am I buying an Xbox? He gave his answer. At the time, I'm like, all right, we'll see. And I'm still kind of in a, all right, we'll see. But now that we're starting to see their initiative on Windows, you're seeing the partnership with AMD with the custom chips. There's going to be some form of backwards compatibility on Windows. How that looks, I don't know. But clearly, they're trying to shift it so that their hardware is an open platform. You can bring other digital stores in it, but it's going to do something that is going to incentivize you to say, yeah, I still want to buy an Xbox because it can do this, and this, and I can bring multiple digital stores with me to play games wherever I buy them, right? That's what's happening. And I've already seen certain people twisting, doing Bikram yoga stretches of trying to figure this out. Oh, you didn't see we didn't get the right translation. Genki translated it, even though he speaks Japanese. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like,
Yes.
okay, fine. Even if I saw what the quote said. And yes, he then elaborated further into them broadening IPs and leveraging things outside of gaming with their IPs, which makes sense. Guess what? Microsoft doing the same thing. What do you think just happened with Minecraft? What do you think they're doing with Fallout? They're all going to do it. If you have Nintendo's doing it with Mario, you're about to get a Zelda movie now, right? Of course they're going to do that. But he started the conversation talking about what? The gaming business and it shifting from being hardware centric
Hmm.
to platform centric. To me, platform means you're looking at every place that you can put a game
Yep.
and do what? Generate revenue,
Yep.
grow, more engagement. So of course they're going to do this. At this point, the people that are twisting themselves into knots, you're literally doing what certain people were doing a year ago when Xbox
Yep.
started doing this, where you're just at this point, it's happening. So it's like, let's just look at it for what it is. What does it mean for gaming? And does it affect you? Ultimately, it doesn't affect you because if you like PlayStation, if you like Xbox, hardware is still going to exist. You still get to take advantage of that. You get to choose where you want to play these games. Now, with certain things, obviously more so with PlayStation, there might be the FOMO factor of you don't get it day one of release, and you might have to wait a period of time. And again, that's
Yes.
up to you if you want to
Yep.
wait. If you don't want to wait, guess what? Go buy a PlayStation and then go play it. But if you're willing to wait a certain period of time, it sounds like eventually these games will show up on your platform of choice. That's what's happening. So like I said, I know I had fun with Dirt yesterday, and I was like, yeah, look, when the first PlayStation game, single player game, shows up, when that tweet goes out, when that PlayStation blog goes live, and they talk about God of War as an example is gonna go on Xbox, I advise everybody, look, just take the day off, call your boss, play sick, whatever you got to do, take the day off, set up 4 or 5 monitors in your room of choice.
Like a
Follow
super
your
villain.
Yes, follow your favorite PlayStation centric Twitter personality and just watch the chaos unfold because it is going to be hilarious. And I laugh at that and I mock it because that's just how silly and stupid all of this stuff is.
Yeah.
Again, these are grown people that are doing this, right? These aren't children. These are adults that will completely melt down because someone else gets to play a game that they get to play. I mean, it's that simple, really.
It really is.
When you think about it. So I think it's all dumb, honestly. Sure, it's weird because I thought that from the get go. It's still weird. Like we're literally going to be able to play Gears of War on a PlayStation in about
It's
3 weeks.
it's
It's
all the
weird.
old timers like us, Paris. Look at this, and if you would have told us this 5 years ago, we'd have been like, "You are
No,
a lunatic."
if you said this a year ago, you would have said you're a lunatic. That's the point. It's
Yeah,
changing so quickly
yeah.
that people are being caught off guard by it. And yeah, like I said, I've definitely stuck my foot in my mouth over it, but I'm not going to sit here and sulk over it or just be outraged because at the end of the day, it's just video games, man. Go play where you want. I literally do, so boom, Fuzzy, I'll pick on you. Fuzzy, I literally could care less where you go play a video game. I could care less. It doesn't affect me.
No,
And what trips me out about this is people care so much about what someone else is doing for their entertainment. Why do you care? Why do you care? So hopefully, all this console exclusivity nonsense does go away. We do essentially go into this a multi-platform future, and it really comes down to what device do you prefer to play the games on? Because I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. My kids, and I'm sure your guys' kids, literally don't care. They don't care. They don't talk like we talk about this stuff. My kids were like, I want to go play Fortnite. I'm playing on the Xbox. I'm playing on the PlayStation. I'm playing on my phone. They
yep.
don't care. And that's just where we're headed. So people can clip all this and say, "Oh, look at Paris and look at what he said." I don't care. Please clip it because I'm telling the truth. I'm not saying anything crazy. I'm not telling you to not go play where you want to go play. Go play where the hell you want. So why people care so much about this is look, it's juvenile, is
Yeah,
what it is. And I hope as the days, the months, and the years pass, people start accepting this, they understand it, and realize when we go into the next generation of gaming is going to look vastly different than this current one because they're telling you right now what it's all about. It's about money. It's not about your feelings. It's about money. It's about generating revenue, making profit, engagement, MAU, whatever you want to call it. That's where this is all headed. So people can try and deny what we just saw. We just saw it yesterday. Was a financial call, and he told you what they're doing. You see, they literally have a team of people internally that are looking at multi-platform games. Obviously, Xbox is already doing it, but to think that PlayStation is not doing something similar, you're just in denial at this point. And you know what? It's fine. I hope Horizon comes with the Xbox. I love Aloy. Let more people play it. Just like I said with Final Fantasy, when I was like, it's freaking criminal if more people don't get to play that game because it's locked on to PlayStation. Let more people play it. Clearly, Square agrees because guess what? That's what they're doing. And ironically enough, and I'll shut up at this, you notice when Square got new leadership in, what happened? Their entire philosophy changed on
yep.
this. I'm just saying. And what just happened at PlayStation? There's new
New
leadership.
leadership across the board. In fact, all the old guard is out.
Yeah,
Yep.
but this is my point. But even the old guard, listen to what some of them saying. I even saw someone say, I don't know if Sean Layton put a tweet out now. I don't know what he said, but Sean Layton's even kind of told you this on certain levels, right? Obviously, Yoshida's been doing the podcast circuit. He's been telling you what's going on. It's
Yeah.
like listen to what people are saying, and I will shut up on this one, but the irony of all ironies, you know who has been telling us this for years, and people are just been in denial or figuring out reasons to not believe him. Phil Spencer. He's
Yeah, he
literally
sure
been telling
has.
us for
Yep.
years. Someone even pulled a clip where he was talking about this in 2022. And what was happening in 2022? They didn't have Activision yet. That was Bethesda. And he was already talking about expanding the other platform. Like they got to make money. And what is the
Yep.
other thing that Phil Spencer constantly says now? since they acquired
we're a
Activision.
business.
We
Yep.
have to run a sustainable business.
Yep.
You have to. It's not about placating your feelings or giving you a victory lap on a podcast. It's about they're trying to make money. Deliver good game. Look, it sucks that they laid off all the Xbox publishing team, and then now you're seeing these publishing deal games like Contraband and all that get canceled. I hate it. I think it's terrible, but they're doing obviously what they think is best for the business. You just talked about what PlayStation is doing with Bungie. PlayStation would be irresponsible if they did not step in and take more of a direct leadership role with what Bungie is doing, because look, I ride or die Destiny, but even with this last one, I'm like, like, I was funny. I was watching Datto do the raid, and I'm like, me and my son looked at each other. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, I did this for 10 years. I don't want to do this anymore. And then full disclosure, I got to see Marathon early. I played the alpha, all that stuff. It's not interesting me right now, and it feels like, and I hope this is not the case, that it's going to be DOA. Like when I look at a game like Arc Raiders that I played at the same exact time as that Marathon Alpha, I go, they're doing it right. Bungie's doing it wrong. So yeah, PlayStation's going to step in and do something. Obviously, we saw what happened with Firewalk a year ago. They don't want those mistakes again. We know they got a Horizon thing. Fair Games is about to come out. They're not giving up on live service, but clearly they're going to put their hand on the wheel and guide where these teams are going now, because you can't have another Concord. You can't. You cannot have a game come out and go away in 10 days. That is catastrophic. All the money that they invested, time, effort, waste of resources that you put into that project. And in 10 days of release, it went away. And I hate to say it, sure they're going to do their best effort. I just don't see Marathon having long-term success. I truly hope they prove me wrong, because I got a lot of friends over there and I want to see them succeed. But for the good of the business, they're going to do what they got to do. So people need
They
to
have
be
an uphill
prepared for that
battle,
as
brother.
well.
They
Yeah.
have an uphill battle. There is no doubt about it. I made mention of it before you jumped on about Ready or Not. This game came out of nowhere, right? 11 million sales since launch. This is what they're up against. Helldivers 2, again, Sony's own, IP. Helldivers 2 is launching at the end of the month to an entirely new audience. You understand that? So the avenues of delay for this game really do put it in a bad spot. And again, it furthers the point, though. We've already, beaten the horse, so to speak, with Marathon. It furthers the point of Sony needing to do something different to get back lost revenue. And you got to remember, I keep saying this. You mentioned Concord. Concord is a thorn in the side that's never going to go away. They cannot get that money back. They spent the money to make it. It was out for 8 days. They canceled it. They pulled it. They refunded the money they made on it. And guess what? They're never going to make money. But you also got to remember that there were at least 9 other gas games that were in some sort of active development with studios that you have to pay people to make this game that were canceled. This is why they're going third party. Their hand was forced. And then they just looked at their own store and they saw that Xbox is eating their lunch. 6 out of the top 10 selling games on PlayStation were Xbox games. We've been saying this for weeks, for months. Hiroki and the publicly traded company are going to be like, how come we're not doing that? Why they're making money and we're not? It's Paris, great stuff all around. And of course, appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. I don't know what you're there to see, but hopefully you'll have a report on it soon enough. Any final thoughts before you get on out of here?
No, I think I have definitely talked way too much.
You've talked the talk and you've walked the walk, kind sir. And we appreciate you taking the time here to hang out with us for about 20 minutes, give or take.
I will say just one thing I will say.
Sure.
If what I played so far with Ninja Gaiden 4 is an indication of that full game
of the year.
It's the year of the Ninja, man. It really is.
Yeah, let's go.
It really is. Yeah, what Platinum's been able to do with that, it's again so far so good, but it's just literally nonstop action. We'll obviously see when the final game comes out, and then I will shamelessly plug
Game
that.
Pass day and date, may I say?
Yeah, it's Game Pass day and date. But I
Yep.
will shamelessly plug that I'm going to Gamescom in a
Oh,
couple
nice, dude. Good
weeks,
for you.
and just some of the appointments and things of games I get to go see. I think people will be pleasantly surprised.
Well,
Leave
you
it at
enjoy
that.
yourself, brother. We'll be talking before you get out of there. I know that's the 20th. Most people are going to be flying out, or you're going to be flying out the 19th. So we got some time. But enjoy your trip, brother. Can't wait to see the content. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today on Breakfast with Boom. And obviously, have a great weekend with the family.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks,
You
Paris.
got it, brother. So,
Later,
Corkenstein, I want to bring you in. Let me just fix the,
yeah.
the chart in front of us. Cork, you know what? To open up his segment, he specifically talked about people trying to compare PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. And, and when he said Nintendo was a unicorn,
It is.
I got a specific stat that I want to lay on you guys, which is just an insane asylum stat. And you've heard me talk about this before, and then we're going to get into the further confirmation, Cork, that they're going full on third party. Not day and date. I don't see them doing day and date. Maybe PC, but never Xbox and Switch. I can see those being 6 months to a year after a new game, but you can guarantee all their old stuff. That again, you're making new money with old games. Sony is going to line them up, folks, because they've already been ported to PC. But check this out. As of June 30th, Mario Kart World sold 5.63 million copies. Do you know how many consoles were sold? A pinch over 6 million. That's nearly 1-to-1, folks. For every console, there was a Mario Kart World. Only Nintendo is able to pull that off. Sorry, folks, that's just what it is. But Cork, let's get your thoughts on this report. Now, I want to read verbatim. I'm using Hazador Gaming's post, great member of this community, consistently putting out great content on X. He says this: the Sony senior vice president, Sadahiko Hayakawa, said this, folks: we are moving away from hardware-centric business model. And here's the quote, ladies and gentlemen. In the gaming business, we are moving away from a hardware-centric business model and moving to a platform business that expands the community and increases engagement. Now, it's the last sentence that I want people to focus on. And Paris actually made mention of this in his segment. They're moving to a platform business that expands the community and increases engagement. Folks, my reading comprehension is super pointed because I needed it for when I was a police officer. You need to have good context. You have to understand people. You got to learn how to read, folks. You just got to learn how to read. Some people don't know how to read, and that's sad. But some people misconstrue things for points that they try to piece together, like you're stitching someone's cut. That's not the way this works. They're switching to a platform business that expands community and increases engagement. If Jim Ryan 3 years ago said that PlayStation gamers weren't enough, is it just PC they're talking about, Corkenstein? The answer is no. They're talking about Switch. They are more specifically talking about Xbox, which has 35 million players. There are consoles out there, and I know that there's been a back and forth. Well, no, it's 26. Now it's 27. No, it's 22. Everyone keeps going in reverse. It was 26 and 27 3 years ago. Stop it, folks. Okay? Stop trying to win a ridiculous argument. Cork, we got to get into this. Does this prove, in your opinion, based on the senior vice president of Sony, that they're moving full on third party?
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you repeat that sentence again from Totoki? It's a platform.
Yes. Platform. Well, this comes the way of the senior vice president, Sadahiko Hayakawa, and he says that they are moving from a hardware-centric business model to a more platform business that expands the community and increases its engagement.
That's a funny way to spell third party, but yeah. That's basically what he's saying, people. Third party. He's just he's just corpo speaking to you and playing it up so where it doesn't sound so bad. That's what they do. That's what these investor calls. They're not for you. These numbers aren't for you, the consumer. They're for the industry. They're for their investors. Look what happened last time they had one of these things where Herman Holtz was, we're going to have tentpole exclusives. And then what happened to, like, literally a week later? Horizon for Lego on Nintendo.
Yep.
Guys, what they're saying to them isn't what it's going to be something completely different, and it means something different. You know who is a platform business now? Who totally switched? Xbox. That's what they did. They became a platform.
Yep.
They lost a long time ago. They dumped that we're only a console company, or we're only that was gone a long time ago. Hell, even Microsoft isn't a hardware company. They've never been a hardware company. They've always been a software, because that's where the money is. That's where you see the continuous engagement of users. That's why when Sony's doing all this, because look at, I mean, yeah, they bragged up. Look how they bragged this up. Oh, we're up year over year for MAUs, but don't tell anybody we've lost 1 million MAUs every single month for the last 6 months. They don't want to talk about that because they were at 129 6 months ago. Now they're at 123. They were at 124 3 months ago. Guys, this is why they're doing what they're doing, and it's because Xbox went the way that they did, and they saw it. I can tell you the exact moment. I know this for a fact. I can tell you the exact moment Sony was like, yeah, we're going to go third party. Sea of Thieves. That was the exact moment. They saw the engagement. They saw the MAUs go through the roof. They saw the revenue that was coming in from microtransactions, people buying the game, and it wasn't even, they weren't even getting credit for it. They weren't even getting the MAU for it for even playing on their own system. Xbox was, because you had to log into an Xbox Live account. So that's what it is. People, it's not about getting people into the ecosystem anymore. It's about getting people to stay in your ecosystem. And you do that with live service. You do that with subscription services. You do that. You don't do that with exclusives anymore. Exclusives have never been, well, I wouldn't say never. They're no longer the revenue driver that they used to be when you first started this. That's what mattered, was console sales and exclusives, like for the original Xbox, the OG Xbox and PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, even the 360, I would say that was still important. But once, they got those people in, it was, how can we sustain them on our platform? It wasn't exclusives. Exclusives are one and done. That's why you've always seen where PlayStation's MAU shoot through the roof on God of War, and then the next month, bam, they're back down. They don't sustain long-term MAUs, and that's what it is. And that's why you're seeing them just losing all these MAUs right now. 6 million MAUs in 6 months. That's insane. And the only reason why they're probably a little bit up too is because of the engagement that Xbox is giving. Look at how well they did with third-party sales off of 30%. Guys, remember, this is 30%, and they're seeing these numbers of revenue. They're going to take a look at that and be like, damn, Xbox is getting 70% of that. What happens if we up ours and get 110% more, and we get the 70% now, releasing games on Xbox? That's what they're doing. Guys, it's third party. It's going to happen. And you better, I bet you damn well sure, any major IP, if it has a TV show, if it's going to capture your casual audience, it's going to go to a massive platform. It's going to be spread out everywhere. The casual market are who they sell to. That's your biggest majority of people buying games, watching movies, buying music, reading books. It's the casual market, and that's where they make their money. So why are they going to play this hardcore fan base game where we're going to lock these IPs to this ecosystem, and we're going to lose out on all this revenue that we could have made by just bringing Spider-Man to Xbox, The Last of Us? I guarantee you, when God of War live TV show comes out, guess what's coming to Xbox?
Yeah,
probably in the next year. They may even
they'll
do
make a fortune.
Yep, they'll probably even do like a God of War 1 remake on Xbox, like they're doing with Gears of War. They're gonna do the exact same strategy, people, and that's what's gonna happen. So just wait for it. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna be with Paris. Help, Paris. I'm gonna set up 10 monitors, TVs.
Wow, you're a
in a
master
sound
villain
system.
then at that point. Anything
Yeah,
more than 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna go insane
World
with this
domination.
because it is gonna be a massive fallout. It's gonna be like it's gonna be like a worldwide catastrophe of, like the news shows where you see like there's like an Armageddon level event, and you have like CNN, you have Fox News, you have it's just gonna be Nib, it's gonna be Reforge, it's gonna be all these people on there just melting down over God of War coming to Xbox or Spider-Man. It's happening, people. Bookmark it, quote me, do whatever you want. I don't care. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But here it is.
No,
That's
the
what's
writing's
gonna
on the wall,
happen.
but you're not wrong. And people could deny it all they want. People can run and hide. And I will say that a lot of the big mouths of the community, Crispy Bomb, have gone into hiding because of people like you. And you are a receipt keeper, Crispy Bomb. You are a shit talker. You are the epitome of TTS, and you don't mind being called to the carpet. Look, Korkenstein made mention of something, and I want to shout out Abstract Concept on Twitter, Mr. Space 3. And he says this right from the horse's mouth, and of course he's using it as a pun. And this is from the fiscal report, Sony's fiscal Q1 2026 earnings call transcript. I have it in front of me, folks. And I quote, games and network services Q1 2025 increased 8%. And you know why that was, Crispy Bomb and chat and panel? In all caps, primarily due to an increase in third-party software sales. That comes the way of the CEO we just talked about. I mean, folks, the writing is on the wall. And unlike a lot of these PlayStation guys and gals who supposedly talk the talk, who play Twitter, who actually don't play PlayStation, and that's why their trophies are hidden, right? We can't see what they're doing. We don't know if they bought the game. You can certainly check if I played it. You can certainly check how many trophies I have on the game. Well, I'll be buying every one of these games on Xbox because I'm a gamer. And most of these games are so good that they're worth playing through again. The Uncharted series, yes, please. I hope it's all 4 games. I hope it's all 4 games in a pack. Charge me $70, not a problem. I'm good. I'll play through all of them. You want to give me Last of Us again? Last of Us 1 and 2, remake, remastered, whatever you want to put them on Xbox. You'll get my money. This is happening, and Cork really did put it perfectly. When the God of War show comes out, whenever that is, next year, God of War is going to be released on Xbox. You know why? Because Xbox are going to get excited about the show, because the show is probably going to be good, and they're going to want to play the game. Last of Us had a hit TV series. Now, your mileage is going to vary, whether you liked it or you don't, but it's moved copies for them. It'll move copies on Xbox. I want to get your thoughts on this, Crispy Bomb, because this is happening. And it was reconfirmed again just the other day. Why people are ice skating uphill is beyond me. But let's get your thoughts, brother.
Man, I should have the Jay-Z, go on, brush your shoulders off. In all seriousness, PlayStation is doing things that we've talked about for years now. We have. And I mean, King David, where are you at, bro? Like, because this man has been standing on this hill for God knows how long. and you look at what he's said to people, and you see how the landscape has transpired. And we look at this landscape at this point, and I'm going to be honest, like, I think the free-to-play model has eaten so much lunch from these AAA developers that all of a sudden you've got to look at different models and how to distribute your said game. And I think games like, like, it's sad because everybody blames Bungie for getting into the ecosystem of multiplayer on PlayStation and canceling multiple games. I mean, to go on your examples, Twisted Metal Season 2 probably would have a lot of people playing that game. But because they don't have a new iteration at all, even a remake, where are they at now? They're not getting much. Those were on PlayStation 3 era stuff. So, like, especially the newer ones, what are we talking about here? And that's where you see the backwards compatibility, and also, keeping your games in the cloud and being able to resume them from Xbox. And you see the Fallout TV series hit everybody's note, and all of a sudden everybody wants to play Fallout. You know what I mean? Those are the things that I think they're telling you, we're going to go for that zeitgeist moment, and we're going for it, but we're going to be more mindful about it. Does it involve TV? Because I'm going to tell you right now, people say, Sony doesn't do it. Sony plays with every subscription service. They have TV shows that are really good on like every one. I even saw one on Apple. Okay. They make great TV shows. They really do. I have finished, or at least gotten to the end of seasons on many great TV shows, and the first thing you see is Sony Pictures or whatever they want to call it that day. And I look at that and I say, okay, but you have a gaming business on the back end. You can get that moment and release a game and release said new season or whatever, and do that in a way that gets people to want to play the game, but also want to finish the TV show. This is the multimedia aspect of our lives right now. We will go from X to Facebook to watching YouTube to watching actual regular old school TV, and then go wherever the heck we want because we have those options. And unfortunately for Sony, they are so far behind because Microsoft is starting. Once that Fallout TV series came out, they said, oh, wait, we got something different here. And that's where I say, like, everybody laughs at zeitgeist, but seriously, think about it. Okay. There is an ecosystem that can go beyond just gaming. Okay. Because we are constantly clicking on one app or the other. Hey, I look at my stocks this day. Hey, I look at this day. Hey, I look at that. Hey, I look all of them and within a 20-minute period because we have pocket computers. You know what I mean? Like it is totally different from when we grew up. And I think people misunderstand when I say, like, I want games to live. Okay. I don't care how they live, but if you're going to bring, I've never played any Uncharted, people. And if I did, I don't remember because guess what? I can't look at any achievements. I can't look at any of that because I did it when online was basically nothing. You know what I mean? So I have to say, I never played one. Maybe I did. I don't remember. I'm from the Blockbuster age. I could just go rent whatever the heck I wanted. Okay? And guess what? That's what Game Pass does for me right now. I pay a sub service. I mean, think about it. How much money you spent, renting games at Blockbuster. It's almost equivalent if you look at it, $5, $10, whatever they were charging at that point in time. So what are we talking about here? And that's where I say, Sony's going to look at different models, including maybe adding some of their games to their service. This is what we're starting to see. They are starting to say, okay, you know what? We will release some of these games on other platforms, but we're going to go for our service. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next year, year and a half that we see something from them, a new tier. You know what? Some people would pay $25 to go and play a lot of these games day and day. Do I think they're going to do all of them? No. Or they'll say, hey, we'll release it within 3 months. These are types of things that we can do now because guess what? There's a social media age happening and people call out BS, but they also praise when it's deserved to be praised. And these are the things that happen within all these different ecosystems we have now. And, you know, somebody said monopoly. I'm like, to be a monopoly, you have to close off exclusivity. You have to be exclusive.
Yeah, well, you have to lock it behind your whatever, your golden wall. And that's not what's happening here. They're expanding, meaning more people are going to have access to the, you know, their software. And, you know, again, for, you know, Paris put it perfectly where, you know, we're in a digital era, right? And we know that if you play on a specific box, whether it's because you can't afford to get the other box or you just don't want to, if games on this box, on this side of the screen, come over to this box, you're probably going to buy those games. That is what's happening with PlayStation and Xbox games right now. And I honestly believe, Crispy, that when PlayStation games come to Xbox, something like a Spider-Man is going to do gangbuster numbers, dude.
It's going, I mean, you got a new, see, this is where I say you got the movie, like there's hype around the new movie.
They're filming it right now.
You know, and they're showing like they're building hype for it. But why not, you know, release even if it's just, you know, I mean, $70 for all 3 games, you know, even though Miles, we always laugh that was really a DLC, but you know, whatever. What the thing I look at is say you put that on, you know, Xbox and you see what happens with the movie coming out. I mean, wouldn't that be pretty logical?
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Sense.
Like, yeah. And also at the end of the day, like people look at us and they're like, oh, you guys just want Sony to fail. No. We want Sony to wake the heck up. We want them to understand that we are in a different age. You can't, like, Nintendo is Nintendo. And that's where you say, like, you want to talk about monopolies? Like, they sue everybody that uses any asset from them. Okay, like, let's be honest here. Like, Nintendo should be put to the fire. But guess what? There's love in all of our hearts. We all, like, anybody as old as me or Boom or anybody on this panel says Nintendo really brought back gaming and we can't hate them. We just can't. And it's just one of those things because I don't think I'd be a gamer the way I am if it wasn't for Nintendo. They broke the doors down. They said, you know what? We're doing something different at that time. And I think at this time, Xbox said, we're breaking the doors down. We're doing something different. And I think when this next console comes out, that's going to be the pinnacle because everybody keeps saying all these things about, you know, digital library and all this. Well, Sony doesn't really support your digital library like Xbox does. It's not 1-to-1. It's like 1-to-3. Okay. Yeah. Like they have games that you can access, but they don't necessarily support your saves or any of that. I booted up Fallout 4 after watching the TV series after years, and I was back where I was. And I'm talking years, okay? So I'm just saying Sony needs to catch up in a certain way, and they're telling you this. Instead of, you know, just throwing, hey, Spider-Man's coming, they're telling you this within their financials to their shareholders. And at least I'll give some credit. They finally are saying, hey, we accept this, even though we talked about this a year and a half ago. So just understand the landscape is changing. Support the platform you like. If you like that PlayStation controller, you like that ecosystem, stay there. We got no problem with it. Okay. As a gamer myself, I love my Xbox controller. The Series X has been a brick of amazing. Like, it's just a brick shit house, as I like to call it. It does exactly what I want whenever I want. Okay. It even turns on because I have a brand new Samsung TV, when I don't want it to, and then I go and shut it off. And then I go, I didn't turn you on yesterday. Shut up. Like, these are stupid things that they do and try to make everything seamless. And I look at it and I say Xbox has a leg up because they have always been saying this far longer, and now PlayStation's just copying them, which we're used to. And I think as we go on, we're going to be talking about more games than anything else. But until then, y'all need to sit down, listen, and understand that Sony is going to play the same game. They're going to do it differently. But at the end of the day, why have a game that's, 5 to 10 years old just sitting there on a shelf that doesn't have any microtransaction ability and not try to sell it to somebody else? It's just illogical.
Great freaking points as always. And you made the mention of copying. Silent Cypher, I know you got to get out of here before 12, so we'll get you out of here as soon as your segment is done. The one thing that Sony has done for years is copy Xbox's success in one way or another, right? And this is one of those situations where they need to do something different. Sony, we just saw the numbers. There's no arguing that Sony is doing well. But Sony wants to do better. And when you hit a certain wall with your current audience, and the telltale sign, ladies and gentlemen, is something like Astrobot. So they have 80 plus million shipped consoles, which is staggeringly great, right? That's a phenomenal feat. That's not even an argument here. The problem, and at least the argument that you could have, is you've heard me talk up Astrobot. It was one of my favorite games of last year. I don't apologize for how much time I spent in that game. And I would have platinumed that game if it wasn't for that freaking last hidden level thing. That was the hardest thing this old man has ever played. It just was ridiculous. There was no checkpoints. It was too much for me. I spent way too much time failing. And I'm like, you know what? I got every trophy except the platinum, and this last one, I'm okay. Phenomenal game. As great as that game was, and I revered it as one of my favorite platformers, so did the world. The gaming world came out in an abundance and said that this game was one of the best games of last year. It won accolade after accolade after accolade. But you know what it didn't do? It didn't light up the sales charts, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because PlayStation gamers aren't enough, Silent Cypher. And this is another reconfirmation that Sony is going full slate multiplat. They may never get to day and date, but I can guarantee you that if a game has a chance to make them money, they're going to sell it on Xbox. They're going to sell it on PC, and they're going to sell it on Switch. Just get your thoughts, man.
Yeah, I mean, it only makes business sense that when you're sitting in the exact same user base pool that you've been for years and years, and you only see the number get to a certain point, give or take a million or two or whatever, you're going to want to try and expand out. You're going to want to get as much access to those games as possible. Look at something like Spider-Man 2, the massive budget between the cost of the game and the advertising on that thing. You think that they probably would have wanted to get more of that money back. And had they released it across multiple platforms at the time, that thing probably would have been in a better situation as far as the revenue. But at that point in time, that thing was still locked away. And so, it is what it is, right? But that's a good example for them. Or look at something like Concord. which granted it was having issues far before, but apparently that was like a $400 million budget. That's not financially viable if you're just casting it to the exact same pool of people over and over again. It just, as a business, especially given the cost of everything nowadays, you have to try and diversify and increase your access across the board so that way you can make more money. It's the same thing and the same reason as why we're seeing Xbox go over to PlayStation. People are going multi-plat because it allows them to spread that out, get access for people all across the board. If you can play your Xbox games on your phone, on your PlayStation, on your Xbox, your PC, your fridge, right? That's a net win for them because they're just going to keep making money on the product. Sony is going to do very similar. And, Paris mentioned, and I think I agree with him, is like, I don't know if we'll ever see them go day and date on Xbox, but I definitely do see the slate going to Xbox because they're literally seeing Microsoft get a return constantly from this stuff. Like, what was in the top of their sales charts all of this year? Sony saw a lot of Xbox success on the PlayStation, didn't they? And despite some popular belief out there, having your product on the competitor's box is not a bad thing. Having your IPs on there is not a bad thing. If you have Halo over on a PlayStation and someone gets to play that, that doesn't weaken the brand. That strengthens the brand. It secures it for longer term growth. There's some folks out there that are just stuck in the old ways and don't realize that things have changed. Things have changed. These systems are going multi-plat. Everyone's going multi-plat. We'll get to play some of these games from PlayStation very soon, it sounds like, on an Xbox.
Yep.
And why are we doing that? Because they want money. They're not concerned about us having our little tribal wars about exclusivity. They're concerned about the bottom dollar and if they can make money. It's what it is. Like, I don't know how many times we gotta say it, but like, wake up, smell the coffee. Things are different now. These companies are going to release games anywhere and everywhere they can, so they can make the money, they can make a return. Otherwise, we'll see those things start to close down.
Yeah, and we don't want that.
We saw what the walled garden situation looked like with Sony with something like Final Fantasy. And when they had new management and they determined, oh, this ain't working, we started seeing Final Fantasy announcements and we started hearing them talk a different tune. Gee, we actually do like you guys over there too. We'd love to give you some games. Why? Money. It's what it is at the end of the day. We might like the brand, and it does not matter where we play it. If we can access the game, that's what Microsoft is trying to target. And Sony's seeing it now, and they're trying to do the same thing. The environment is shifting very drastically in a very fast time. People are having a hard time accepting it. That being said, I'm super stoked about the idea of something like Spider-Man or Days Gone. Like, imagine Days Gone having a new audience, right? That they didn't have previously. Because in these times, like, who wants to go pay $600 for like one or two exclusive games? If it comes out and you don't have that system at the time, like, a lot of us are just like, whatever, I'll get to it. Not all of us are really like focused on the FOMO of it. Like, if it doesn't show up, on our system, we'll get to it eventually. But I'm excited about seeing some of these games actually come over to other systems, so we can see these things maybe get some more fan base, maybe get some more releases as time goes on. Like, if they succeed, maybe we see some of these games actually get just dessert. Like, imagine a Days Gone sequel actually not getting canned this time. Like,
no, it's funny. I was going to make mention of that before you get on out of here. Is that if Days Gone would come to Xbox? Now we don't know what's coming, what's not coming, but it makes sense, right? And it makes sense from a money perspective because Days Gone came out in 2019, and that was the last time that Ben Studios shipped a new game. That is a long time ago. So you're right. You're onto something there.
Yeah, it's it. I don't see it as a negative thing at all, and I think it's smart that they're doing it. I honestly wish that Sony would have thought about this or looked at it earlier, because we saw almost 12 games as a service get shafted because they were struggling. They were trying to throw stuff out there to figure out what they could do to make money, and it didn't seem like a fully baked out plan, and then we saw it completely fall apart. And, maybe they could have avoided those things. Like, had you released it across the board, or had you had plan with that, maybe you could have done a deal with Microsoft, or maybe you could have potentially been able to forecast and justify it to your shareholders that, like, hey, this thing's going to have this type of audience versus, well, it's going to have this little walled garden. Like Astrobot, at the end of the day, like you said, it was game of the year for a lot of people. I think it got game of the year over at Video Game Awards. It only sold like what, 2 million?
Yeah, a little bit over 2 million.
And that's over 80 million consoles sold. Like, just by numbers, it just makes sense. Get the things out to all the people that can play it as possible so you can see higher numbers.
I mean, listen, it's all about numbers. I know that, it's always been a business. But the business was looked upon very differently, Fuzzy Belvedere, back in the days. A lot of old G's like us never would have envisioned this type of world that we're currently living in. Cats living with dogs, ponies living with bots. No one would ever thought about that, right? But that's the reality. The sad reality is that the purists have to understand, and I was consider myself a purist. I had to accept that this was the reality of Xbox. I've always said it. If they're not taking anything away from me out of Game Pass to put on PlayStation, am I really losing anything? The answer is no. So then you know what? You just accept and you move on. Fuzzy, before we get everyone out of here, we'll catch up on Super Chats. I want to get your thoughts on this reconfirmation that Sony is going full slate third party. And again, it may look different than how Xbox did it with just 4 games, right, to open up. It might be, it started with Helldivers. Spider-Man's 7th anniversary, Spider-Man 2018, is happening on September 7th, right? We know that Insomniac Games has been doing a lot of tweeting, right, specifically about Spider-Man. We know, like Crispy said, that they're filming the 4th film right now. It's going to have the Punisher. It's going to have the Hulk. It's going to have Mr. Negative, supposedly. That doesn't come out until July 1st of 26. But if you get out Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales 2-pack on the 7th of September, you make a bunch of money. And then next year, right before the new Spider-Man film comes out, you release Spider-Man 2 on Xbox. And guess what you get? A lot of money.
Yeah.
You get a lot of money from people that are going to want to buy and play a Spider-Man game. Let's get your thoughts on what's happening. And again, this the reaffirmation, if you will, that this is happening.
I mean, money speaks volumes as far as what these companies are trying to get a hold of. And the biggest thing nowadays is that while exclusives may have had their time and place in the earlier era, you have to look at the games as a service, the free-to-play games, the big, what I would refer to as black hole games, the games that people don't necessarily have to buy, but they spend a lot of money and time on, like season passes and skins and such. And while that money making it, third hand, I guess you could say, for companies like Sony and Xbox is great, it's not as great as if you can get a full 70%, elsewhere. I mean, even 100% would be awesome. And I think PlayStation is seeing the 100% that they were getting from their first party studios wasn't quite what they had hoped, especially comparing it to the PS4 generation. And as things go up in costs, as far as development costs, employee salaries, licensing fees, especially with Disney hitting them over the head because of the whole Spider-Man deal,
Yep.
It makes perfect sense for them to approach things a little bit different than what they may have done in the past. They're, porting over to PC has been a slow, calculated one, and it's worked to some extent maybe not as successful as they hoped outside of Helldivers, but there are IPs sitting out there that they've already collected from their own ecosystem, ones that they've already collected on Steam or Epic as far as for the PC crowd. I don't know how fast they'll get into the mobile aspect of things, but there's two perfectly good platforms out there that, a couple of million extra copies sold is that much more money in hand. That 70% from Nintendo or even Xbox, helps fund future games, helps keep CEOs' salaries and bonuses, as well as paying shareholders. And that's ultimately what the business is about. I mean, us as gamers, we just look at the games, and that's what we mainly focus on. But right now, when it comes to trying to get your game in front of as many eyes as possible, the best way to do that is to put your game everywhere. Phil had talked about this long ago, and people, looked at him side eye when he said you can either monetize your existing customer base or you can expand your customer base by, looking at other platforms. They had already monetized the Xbox ecosystem as much as they probably could, is based on what their internal numbers showed. And they saw that there was a nice wall garden that they could kind of kick the wall over at PlayStation. And they were probably going to do something similar with Nintendo here soon. The previous Switch may not have been worth the extra effort to downgrade some of the titles to put it over on Switch 1, but Switch 2 being at least last generation's, power, Xbox is going to look at kicking that walled garden in as well. And they're already making strides, even if it takes a lot of court battles with mobile. So Xbox has already shown a blueprint for what companies can do and grow your customer base. Even if it, may piss off some of your core fans, money is money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think Sony now realizes that, especially with the former CFO being the CEO of Sony Corp. And he's going to have those same eyes looking at the business of things. And he's said so, even as far as a year ago when they talked about expanding their platform. And people were like, oh, no, that just means PC and mobile. Obviously, it didn't just mean PC and mobile, because he could have came back and said, no, I meant PC and mobile. No, he left it very general because it takes time for these ports and things like that to kind of align. And if you're going to have Nixus quietly work on, Helldivers 2 or whatever other titles, or maybe even have Insomniac doing some stuff behind the scenes, or you have a number of your other first party studios starting to look at, dev kits from other platforms, what better way to do that and make more money before you go into the next generation? If you expand your player base outside of your walled garden before the next generation, that stands a chance of making your name even more known when the next generation hits. Does that lure more people to your hardware, or does it at least give people a heads up of what to look forward to for another God of War or another Spider-Man or whatever else you have as your launch lineup that either comes to their platform eventually or that they may be encouraged to buy that platform? So I think, Microsoft being 6 out of the top 10 games paid for on Sony's platform showed them the way, but they also had other internal markers with MLB The Show and a few other things. So I don't want to ramble on too much. The writing was kind of on the wall, and, sure, Xbox caught a lot of arrows for, being the first to do this. And a lot of times they are usually the first to try something different. And, the gaming community, just like many other hobbies and communities and things like that, we tend to have short-term memory loss at sometimes, and a lot of times change is like the biggest thing that we always try to fight against. And then we realize, well, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. Like the whole thing with the DRM, where you could have sold your digital games or traded your digital games. Maybe that would be such a bad thing now, but looking back at it, oh no, DRM was the worst nightmare. But now almost every game that we play has some form of DRM. So once again, Xbox being, kind of the leader in trying this out, and it worked, and we all see that it worked for them financially. Of course, Sony isn't going to sit there and twiddle their thumbs and be like, you know what, we're good with the same amount of money that we've been making, or maybe we're up this year, but down on users and stuff like that. Like at some point, you have to expand. You either try and grow or you die on the vine. That's just the business nature of business. But I've rambled enough. It is what it is. I expect to see more Sony single player games as well as some of their multiplayer games. And for all those that are like, oh, it's just their live service. Tell me, what live service do they have left? Do we know if Marathon is going to see the light of day? Do we know if Fair Game is going to see the light of day? They had already canceled 8 out of the 12. So what live service do they have in the tuck that would be what they're hiring all these people to do? So PlayStation fans, time to open your eyes, move on. If you want a console war, join the multiplayer games and make sure you have cross play turned on. That would be your new console war. Be on the front line in any game, whether it's Battlefield or Gears next month or Helldivers. Well, Helldivers is PvE, so you can do team kills, but don't be an a-hole in that regard. Like, find a different game that you're going to pick your battle. Race in Forza, set, track records and things along those lines, or get the most, accolades. Be in the 1 million to 10 million club if you can. That would be the way to show that your platform has the better player base or whatever. But all in all, I think for gamers, I think this makes more sense as things become more expensive. Now you don't have to spend as much on hardware to access things within your hobby. You got subscription services to keep the entry point low. And now if things are going multi-platform, it continues to keep things lower. I mean, the diehards, like some of us here on the panel and some of you in the chat, will still buy multiple platforms of hardware, but it's not a necessity. And we can all still talk about the same games that are, relevant at that point in time, and, trade stories or trade points and tips on how to play those, or things that you found that some people may not have found. So that's the best way to look at it. Enjoy the games wherever you play them. That's all.